Hey, I want to talk about the very basics of playing out of the back, playing out of your own end in 7v7 using what I think is the core formation that you should be using that is most effective for teaching the tactics and the positional play that we want to teach young players. And I think it's the best in terms of transferring to 9v9 and then to 11v11. And this is for any coach for 7v7, whether it's, a parent filling in because you need a coach for a team or a coach who just doesn't have a lot of experience. I also highly recommend this if you're a parent and just want to know a little bit about the game with your child's journey and a player as well for you to review something simple that you can look at to help you better understand. Because I get it for coaches and players alike. We don't get a lot of practice time to work on developing your skills as a player while also trying to teach the bigger picture. So let's go ahead and dig in right now. So my favorite formation for 7v7 in teaching the things we need to teach from a possession standpoint and a tactical standpoint that works best transferring to 9v9 and then also to 7v7 is a 2-3-1. And what you're looking at here is I'm starting with the ball in possession of the keeper, so that or this could also be a goal kick, and where I like to have the players start out, offensively speaking, and the majority of the time, you're going to have the keeper play to one of your two in the back, which as you can see here, this is where I like to put them. Don't have them all the way up. I don't want them at the top of the box. I want them at the width of the box, the goal box, not or I should say the penalty area, not the goal kick box, but I want them about halfway down the line. This gives them a little bit of space from the other team. It makes it easier for the keeper, and it also spreads things out. I don't want we'll call them a central midfielder. These two players I guess you could call them both center backs, even though they're your only two defenders. Then you have your central midfielder. I don't want them at the build out line. I mean, they're lost there, right? If the other team usually they're gonna have multiple players in hopes that your team don't have the technical skills to play out. Obviously, they're going to rush in from that position. I like to have them about the top of the D. Okay, and then your outside midfielders, which really are also kind of your outside backs as well. I want them all the way at the touch line at the build out line, right? I want to use all the width of the pitch of the field. So I want them all the way out, and then I want your striker, and this gets difficult, right? This is one of the big things that we struggle with is that players bunching and moving closer and closer to the ball. Make sure your lone forward, your striker, stays high. And as you can see, I just have them a little to the right. They can be a little to the left because you do want them to be a target if that is possible, to find those spaces to help out. If they're standing right here, obviously they're just right behind the central midfielder, and we don't want them hiding. One thing I did want to mention before moving on that I think is important as well with this player here, not only are we're still moving them away from the build out line to give them a little space, but most of the time and 7v7, you're not going to play this pass because as soon as that comes out of the box, usually there's going to be two or three players along this build out line. They're just going to charge, and your players just usually aren't going to have that technical ability, that composure under pressure to have this ball delivered and to escape that pressure. Now, maybe they get a little more advanced. Maybe in their second year of 7v7, you have that ability to play here and then here right away or here right away. So you draw those defenders to this player, and then it actually gives you an advantage to quickly be able to play here and play out and move up like that. But for now, 95% of your passes are going to go to one of these two players out wide. Now, one other thing I want to mention that is more technical than tactical, but it is extremely important and it helps tactically because it gives you more time, it gives players more space, and you want them to develop these good habits right away. And that is have how they are positioned. If you look at this player, sort of, you can kind of see how I have them facing forward, but a little bit in, right? They have an open body position. They're not directly facing the keeper like this. They're not directly facing up. They're kind of like this because ideally, and again, you want to drill this into your players right away because you don't want those bad habits. And I know it's going to be difficult from a technical standpoint, but this is what you want them trying to do. You want this pass to this center back over here. You want them to be able to play this pass so that it goes across the body, right? Rolls across the body because they have an open body position. And the first touch is with the right foot in this situation, right? Or as I'll say, the back foot. Why? Because they are open to the entire pitch. They're open to the entire field. They can see everything that is in front of them. Whereas if that ball comes out and they've got to take it, you know, like this, and they've got to take that with the left foot, now they're going to use up, they can't see, right? They can't see the field. They can't see the pitch. They're going to have to take time and touches to get turned. And as you know, how quickly the game is played in soccer, that little bit of time, that extra touch, that having to turn the body can be the difference between losing possession and keeping possession. And it's the same thing, right? On the other side, this ball over here should roll across the body with an open body position, and the first touch over here should be with the left foot so that they can see everything. And if they want to go to the outside mid, right? You can take that left-footed touch that goes to right here, that sets up the right-footed pass, and boom, boom, and they've gotten rid of the ball. So I think that's just one thing I wanted to drill in for this, that it's not talked about enough, I don't think. So let's say we've got that pass. Let's say it goes out to the right first. Okay. So a couple of things here. And obviously, all these things are going to be dependent on what the defense decides to do. So you have to adjust. But I want to give the foundation for your understanding is this outside mid is going to slide down a little bit to give a better angle, and hopefully again they can also be in that open body position, and our center midfielder is going to slide over to give a better angle as well, to so now you have what we're hoping we have all over the pitch is some version, right, of what we don't want to move that, some version of a triangle, right? We always want some version of a triangle. I know I've got it looking more like a 4-player thing. But anyway, you can see that connection between the 3 players there. Now, 2 things to this that I think are really important. I mentioned this with the striker is players at especially the younger age, right? They have a tendency to crowd the ball. And usually in this situation, the central midfielder is going to come and we're going to get too close. We're going to crowd the ball and try and help in that way. So you want them to still be central. They're a central midfielder. Not that they won't be wide at times, but coming over this way, or even getting up a little bit, upfield a little bit as you come over like this is much more important. And also, this sliding down needs to be emphasized because so often I see, again, it's those habits that they don't really understand and aren't drilled into them in the beginning, is sometimes to give a teammate an angle that allows them to complete a pass to you, that allows the team to keep possession, might be simply 1 or 2 steps to your left or right that gives them a better angle because of where the defender is. And a lot of players do not understand that and do not learn that. So they need to slide down just a little bit to give them their teammate a better angle, a better opportunity to complete that pass out wide. Now we've got the other players on the opposite side as well. So now this other center back has to slide in here a little bit, both to support the ball, but also to be in a better position in case there is a turnover. This outside mid / outside back can slide in here a little bit. There are no, well, I'm going to say there are no hard, fast rules, and that's what makes it tricky with young players. Traditionally, you want to say with someone like this, because of what they all have a tendency to do, is never go past halfway. Of course, there are going to be times when you're going to have to, whether it's an opportunity offensively or especially defensively. But I understand the rule and that desire to want to let them know, but because you don't want to crowd your teammates. So they're going to slide in, bring them in here a little bit also to help and support the ball so that they can be a connector or at least a connector to a connector. Now, the first thing you want your players to do when they have a ball in a situation like this is if there is space in front of you, take the space. Make the defense commit to you before you make a pass, right? So if there is space in front for this player, and I don't want them going wide, we're not talking about dribbling out here because you already have a teammate supporting there. We don't want to dribble here into trouble, and you already have teammates supporting you where you can make a pass. But if there is space in front of you to take up the ball up the pitch, and then this outside player is going to slide up with you, always giving you that angle to let you know you're out wide, and these other players are going to adjust as well. That is really important because you want to make the defense make decisions and you want to make them commit. For example, if we've got a defender here and they're just playing that, they're staying there, right? They're containing you. If you make this pass, what have we accomplished other than to maybe put your teammate under pressure depending on the quality of the pass, or at the very least maybe they just slide over like this. So you want to be able to commit that defender, right? So we're going to dribble up a little bit and we're going to make that defender commit. Now they have to play the ball. They're coming at you. So now you're going to go get them. And obviously, players are going to have to learn when and how close and all of those things. But now you've got that defender committed. You have your outside player sliding up. You can play a ball if there's space, even play a ball in front of them instead of to their feet that allows them to run on. Now we're past that defender. We're moving into the middle third and we're setting up our attack. So that's important to understand that these players need to know when there is space in front of them, take that space and commit that defender to defending the ball, which is going to open up space for teammates. So let's say we've got our outside back here that's taken their space. They've moved up to basically the top of the box. So we're going to have this other outside back's going to move up as well. We're going to have this outside mid move up. They're going to play a little bit over here. We've got the central midfielder playing here as well. And one other thing, obviously, now we've moved up a little, so this player is going to slide up as well. One thing that's really, really important and not easy to do because of the pressure they feel. So it's important how you understand to let keepers know that mistakes are going to happen. It's part of how they get better. It's part of how they learn. Keepers have got to be comfortable coming out of goal and doing the things they will need to do as they get older with you understanding and the entire team and the keepers themselves, mistakes will happen. That's the only way that you're going to learn and be able to play the position correctly. So, for example, in this position, you really want your keeper to come out at least to the edge of the goal kick box, which in 7v7, it's been a while since I've actually actively coached the 7v7 team. Was it 4 yards at 7v7? But the 6 yard goal box, the goal kick box, right? You want them to at least come out to that and to be an angle of support so that the ball can go back to the keeper if that is the right play, if that is the necessary play that you're going to use. Now, let's talk about the striker. Again, one of the things I've talked about a lot is players having a tendency to crowd the ball and want to go down to the ball and get into this area. And that just brings defenders. And then you've got too many players in small spaces, and that's how turnovers happen. So you want your forward, you want your striker. Now, they can adjust a little bit to create space from defenders that are marking them, but you want them more to be looking this way to find space between the lines so that maybe we can get a direct pass from this fullback all the way to the striker's feet. We also want them to be looking for a ball that maybe, especially if it goes out wide, where they can be looking for a ball that gets played through space for them to run onto, whether it's this way or it's directly this way. But you don't want them coming directly to the ball here because you've got the central midfielder for that. You've got the keeper behind. You've got the outside midfielder slash, outside back as well supporting too. So you want them to find space in the hole between the lines in this area right in here to be able to look to maybe they can get a direct pass from the fullback, which in that case, we want to get this outside midfielder, get them on their horse, so to speak, to hopefully maybe get a quick ball from the fullback to the striker to the outside mid, boom, 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 and get into the attacking third that quickly. But you don't want them to come down and crowd the ball, and that's where you get bad turnovers. You're in your own end. Now, one of the biggest obstacles we actually face with development is the fact that defenses at younger ages have a massive, massive advantage over offenses, especially if you have players who are really, really fast. And so when you're at 7v7 and you might have players who can't even actually accurately make this pass on the ground, right? They don't have the strength, they don't have the technique. Maybe it's too slow or they get it in the air because that's what they need to do to reach them, and that makes it very easy for defenses to pressure the ball and create turnovers deep in your own end and create goals that way. And so a lot of times, unfortunately, you will see teams go with a massive press, right? They'll it's like an all-out blitz at the end of the game because you need a sack, right? Or that the other team needs to complete a 4th and 25. So you're like, instead of laying back, you're like, there's 5 guys blocking, we're sending 7. There's no way they're gonna get downfield and we're gonna get them. And so one thing you can do is bring your center backs down even further, all the way even to the end line. Now, I know you have to be careful with your keeper in terms of how well they play balls on the ground because you don't want them just playing it out of bounds for a corner. But this gives your players more time, right? When you complete this pass, because when you see it like this is an all-out blitz, and you're going to have these players are just going to rush the ball in hopes that their pressure is overwhelms the skill level of your players to keep possession, and you cause a turnover that way, whether it's they fumble it on their first touch and they just go in and take the ball, or they panic and they just kick the ball and there's a turnover that way as well. And a lot of times they'll just you see that and you'll bring them from the other side too, and they're just all coming in. Now, couple of things, right? The simplest, of course, if it goes like this, is we slide this player down. This is why, again, open body position is so important, because if we can take that across the body, it's a lot easier to quickly play a ball out here. And now we're gone, right? This player has a lot of space. This player is going to have to, they're coming at the ball and they're going to have to turn and chase. This player is going to have to commit to coming over, which, by the way, also gives us a lot of space in here, so we can take that space and continue down the end line, or they start coming at us and we play this ball into the striker, or this is where you get that violation sort of rules, like I said before, about sliding down earlier. In this case, you actually will want your striker to get wide and sort of get in the space, because if this defender's closing from over here and they're coming this way, there's nothing wrong with making a bending run, because you want to stay in your half to stay on side, right? So we see it, we make that bending run. As soon as the ball is played, we're going to boom, bend that run this way, and we're in, right? And we're in on goal. Now, one thing you might have happen, if they're really, really super aggressive, that maybe they do it with this player who's worrying about this player outside. So maybe that keeps their defending like that, right? This comes all the way over because they figure maybe they got really fast players in the back. Or maybe sometimes more likely is this player is going to come into attack, but they're aware of this player out here. So maybe now this pass can't be made. So I want to finish with one thing that isn't talked about enough, because in America, we've gotten so into we've got to play out of the back. We've got to play possession. We've got to connect on these short passes and on and on. Not and we've gotten to that point where we've so completely stressed that aspect of the game, that we vilified playing the ball direct. We vilified playing balls in the air. We vilified playing passes, more than 15 or 20 yards. And that simply is not the case. You have to take what the defense gives you at times. And there is nothing wrong with playing a deeper ball or a ball in the air, or, a longer ball that a player runs onto. Because if you get this situation here, to where they figured they're just going to all out press that ball, and you have this one player coming up here, you've got all of this space. You have a couple of options, folks. You have the striker again that can slide down and run if that player can play the ball far enough. As soon as it's kicked, now you can move into the other half so you're not offside and run a ball down. Or you just have this player that can run down the line. So you can go ahead if there's space and you just hit a hard ball on the ground through here, or feel free to play a ball in the air over the top into this area that this player easily runs onto. We turn and we get the central midfielder going, and maybe we've got a 3-on-1 or a 3-on-2, and we have immediately broken that press. Now, you can also look at other options. There are other possibilities, and that's where your central midfielder comes into play. Now, obviously, these players look really big, right? Like, this isn't to scale with this pitch, but even in this type of pressure, maybe it's between this player and this player, or this player and this player, where there is enough space. And this again goes down to the technical ability of your players, which is why I say, defenses take advantage of that at times. But if you're drilling your players properly, this is where we have that central midfielder who's looking for that space between the defenders, what we call playing between the lines, and breaking the lines with the pass. And there are a lot of drills that you can do, a lot of small-sided games to emphasize and focus on this. And in this case, because of the way I have it, maybe with the way they're coming, and this player's like, oh, I got to worry about that outside player too, so let me get out here and pressure this way. Maybe between here and here is that gap that the central midfielder finds, right? And now we can play this ball on the ground to our central midfielder. And now our outside mid is moving up the pitch. And of course, you want to take your space, right? Because now this defender is going to have to slide over. They're going to be the one pressuring the ball. This defender is going to have to slide over to take the striker. And now we're moving up the pitch in a 3v2 in our transition. So that's important to understand as well, that you can still find solutions in playing the ball on the ground and playing possession and not always playing into space. Now, let's say it looks more like this. We've got this player coming directly at the ball. This player knows they're coming at the ball to pressure, but they know they have to worry about this outside player. This player is closing off the keeper. You're right. You're not going back to the keeper. This player is going to take care of this other center back, so you're not going to them as well. And so maybe now that gap is more in between these two players here, and we're going to play this ball. Now, getting it more centrally, this central midfielder has more options as well in terms of what they're going to do. They can attack the space. So, of course, the striker now is basically moving laterally because they would be offside to move up, but they're going to go either direction to create more space for the central midfielder. But now we also have this outside midfielder on the opposite side of the pitch that can come in at an angle here as we take the space and create an opportunity to play a ball across and switch field that way as well. So all kinds of options, right? We could keep going and keep going and keep going, but I wanted to give you the very basics of one or two options per position in terms of how the defense is playing and where that gap is and where you can actually play that ball. Now, there are some other things that I want to talk about in terms of how the defense is going to approach you, and the various foundational options that you're most going to have in terms of your choices in playing out of the back that we're going to talk about. I will do some follow-up videos with that, so this one isn't an hour long. But yeah, if you're enjoying the content, please support the channel by liking the video, commenting down below, give me questions, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I truly do appreciate that. And I will do some follow-up videos on playing out of the back in a 2-3-1, and I will talk to you in the next video.